evening, SRA Nation.
We're excited to get this season off with a bang.
I think they're all taking tires. And on top of that, it's going to be saucier. It's going to be an all-out shootout to the end. He's got line of sight on these guys.
I commend you for the bravery. He's getting this close to the diffuser.
All you gotta do is win the race. You don't have to lead a whole bunch of laps.
Oh, they're going to be side by side going into the next corner.
Oh, that's a big contact in the back of the field.
Can't stay out there like this.
He stayed in it!
We're off and away for SRA.
Hello everyone, Dan Rufus and Sam Raworth here for Season 10, Final Race D2. Sam, can you take us through the track map?
Yeah, I mean, green light, go, go, go. Silverstone, if you will. People know this, everyone knows this, right? This is famous. If you don't know all the names of all the turns, I won't beleaguer you. I'll just use some of the numbers here on the track so we can take a look here. Turn 1 is basically just a kink, a quick dab on their brakes and a turn right. So make sure that you're not 2 wide, 3 wide with everyone going through here. It is very chaotic on the opening lap. You have to be cautious there. Then the next couple of turns are some really nice curvy S's. They're called maggots and beckets, as most of us know. However, a lot of this is just downshifting and lifting to allow you to go through because you're on throttle so much up to there that you really just have to get the weight over the front tires to allow you to turn through it. The biggest part of this entire section is getting on the gas at what you see as turn 6 here, or what is called cops, as chapel. So maggots, beckets, chapel is turn 6 leading on to the hanger straight. If you get on the throttle too early at turn 6, you'll wash out wide, but you have to get on throttle early, or you will get passed down from turn 6 to turn 7. The hanger straight is the #1 overtaking zone we're going to talk about tonight. Once you get around turn 7 and you're heading down towards 8, this is probably one of the most technical parts of the track. Hitting the brakes into turn 8 and turn 9 is entirely a form of magic if you get it right, and you can really just carry your momentum around, get back on the throttle for the next couple turns, and getting on the throttle allows you to basically carry all of your speed through turn 8 to turn 10, all the way around turn 11, etc. So going from turn 10 down to 11 is technically a straight, and if you get enough power out of turn 10, you get on the throttle early, that can be an overtaking zone, but you do have to be careful because turn 11 is just a lift and a downshift. You don't have to brake hard, you don't have to, try to take an inside line and brake earlier than the other guy. You have to lift and downshift. So if you do try to overtake there, be careful about it. And especially because as soon as you lift and downshift, you're back on the throttle as hard as possible, as early as possible, and making it around turn 12 into turn 13. You can get on the throttle early, you can pull yourself around the turn, but then you're into another similar to turn 8, which again, if we're talking about the specific names and all this stuff, similar to Vale, as you're going into the farm turn, you have to slam on the brakes really hard, downshift a bunch, trail brake, get yourself around the turn. The difference here being, if you don't get on the accelerator between 13 and 14, then you're gonna lose a ton of time. But even as soon as you get on the accelerator, you have to look for the point to your right where you can slam on the brakes, turn, and get around the turn. Because as you get around turn 14, as soon as you get on the gas, you're on the gas from the the track out of turn 14 through 15, all the way down into the braking zone of turn 16. And that straight, the Wellington straight, is our second major overtaking zone of the track. If you get on the throttle early enough, you can definitely pass people into there. Braking there, you can brake pretty late and still get around turn 16. And once you get around that turn, going around the turn 17, there's 2 options. You either can make a nice U-turn where you sort of just follow the curve, or you can make a V-turn if you have a whole lot more power, go in deep, turn around, and get on the gas. No matter how you do it, getting around turn 17 is the same as I've talked about out of turn 6, the same as I've talked about out of turn 10. the earlier you can get on the gas and still stay safe and get back on it, the longer you'll be on throttle, the longer you'll be able to get a chance to overtake. And so we're looking at between turn 6 and turn 7, i.e. the hangar straight. We're looking at between turn 15 and 16, i.e. the Wellington straight. And we're looking kind of down the main straight into Maggots and Beckett's for our overtaking of tonight.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sam. The Silvers are out qualifying, so we're going to jump right into that. We have Roy Key in the Porsche as one of our first drivers out on track, so we can see how the Silvers can qualify here. Sam, what do you think the times are going for in D2 tonight?
Well, I mean, we're talking about some people that may or may not be in D1 next year, you know, or next season. Definitely should have been. So we can probably look down on the 157s if they're really nailing it, and with good practice, and because this is such a famous track, I think we can see a 157 at the best. I would say at worst we're looking all in the 158s. You know, for someone to be outside of the 158 range, maybe they didn't practice so much, maybe they didn't know this track as well, but honestly a 159 is still competitive, and especially if they can maintain that during the race, whereas those guys doing the 157s, 158s, maybe they're sort of more of a hot lap type guy. These guys can all stick close and have a competitive race. It'll really come down to, I think, pit strategy a lot and what happens in the first couple turns.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is an interesting track. I mean, it's been where it is right now for many years now, and as you said, a very famous track. These are my favorite turns, probably on the entire race series, and also that I've seen live right there through Maggots and Beckett's. It's just, especially when you see the Formula One cars, they're just flat out. I mean, they're not flat out, but they're just on the accelerator, just pushing every one of those turns. It's really an exciting thing to watch live. So I do recommend Silverstone if anyone has a chance to visit England during a race season.
Yeah, and chat, if you haven't heard or haven't, you know, listened to it during, Dan, his picture when he comes up on the pictures of me and him is when he's actually at this track during a race. So he's been there, he knows it.
Exactly, yeah, no, it's the old version of the track when I had brown hair, but around the old section coming on to what used to be the main straight. Which is currently the main straight for the GT3 cars that we'll have here. So yeah, no, it's exciting. I saw Schumacher spin there during qualifying, and Alonso have a pretty bad crash when he was driving in a Renault. So a number of years ago, maybe you all can guess the year. I'm thinking somewhere around 2004. But yeah, no, it's an exciting place to watch a track.
Well, especially if you are an F1 fan, you might know that the start-finish is not exactly the same start-finish that we have here. Or at least it hasn't been. So there's always different outlines of these sort of tracks, and sometimes you have that feeling that it may seem a little bit different than what you know and what you watch. But in GT racing, you know, we have these turns, and we know this is the first turn, and that's what we're going to go by tonight.
Yeah, no, it's that's what Formula One used to run. So they used to go right from start into that first. What we're going to have is turn 1 tonight, which was an exciting portion of the track for them to go from there right into the S's. And so we'll see that same excitement tonight as they go from that rolling start into turn 1. As you said, Sam, they all can't push through there at one time. There has to be some queuing up, because not everyone can make it through that in their first lap. Luckily, there's a lot of runoff on the outside of that to hopefully keep everyone safe. But there's definitely a likelihood that not everyone can go through that side by side.
Well, especially turn 1 being Cop's Corner. You know, we all know from the last couple of years of F1 where Hamilton and Verstappen crashed on the year they were actually fighting. So If you know those two can do it, these guys can do it. But yeah, as you were saying, sorry, back to Anastasi leading the provisional pole right now.
Yeah, and Key was coming close, but seems to have lost some time on their last lap. Berg still pushing, it seems, as well as Moffitt and Platt. in 3, 4, and 5. So we'll see what happens with about 2 minutes left. Given where some of these cars are, they'll probably get at least one more lap or one more try, depending on where they are on the track, and we'll see if anyone can pass Anastasi in the silvers.
Yeah, last week we mentioned because the track lap was 1.5 minutes, you really got 5 or 6 good laps into qualifying. These are 2-minute laps, more or less. So with only 10 minutes to qualify, you're getting out there, getting your tires warm. You may get 3, maybe 4 at best. So everybody right now in silver seems to be running in around the 158s, maybe low 159s or so. That's about where we expected. I assume they'll all, or most of them, will pick up on this lap. So we'll see a lot of those times come down a little bit. They'll all be in the green as we're watching on our timing screen. I would bet then gold comes out and starts to filter through to the top, but as we've seen, Key and Anastasi they can battle up there with the golds. They'll probably be interspersed with some of them.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting seeing where they're coming out, and I saw a lot of 158 times this week, and everyone else who's going to be qualifying for the endurance race this weekend on Saturday, get your times in, but the qualifying times, I think if you can really put a lap together, I wonder how much that'll differ from your race pace. So it'll be interesting to see what the top race pace is once we get into this versus some of the top qualifying times. And like you said, Sam, if they can maintain the same times as they are in qualifying during the race.
I think also that this track is one that lends itself to a lot of close racing. And when you have a track that has a lot of close racing, that does tend to actually slow your lap times down. As we've talked about in the past, fighting tooth and nail is a slower way to go around the track. So you may find out that you're running 201s most of the race, and you feel like if you looked at it just by itself, those aren't very good numbers. But if you're in tight traffic the entire time, that might just be the best you can do.
Yeah, it's always, if you're not looking in your rearview mirror, you can usually drive faster than if you're worrying about the car behind you. As it seems like this is Anastasi is the last driver on track for the silvers right now. Trying to maybe do another lap here. But everyone else in the silvers, this is their final lap as they go through the start-finish line.
I think we'll see if maybe 1 or 2 of them squeaked through and maybe didn't pay 100% attention that time. It looked like 1 or 2 of them across the line might still be on a lap, but I may not be sure about that. Either way, yeah, it does seem like the provisional pole sitter in this race, and even in my race yesterday, somehow tends to be the last person in silver to keep going around. I don't know how they time it that well, but they're always getting an extra lap on top of all of us, and I think it's cheating.
I like to be first out, so I may give it to Anastasi for being first out, but no, I'm gonna not use the cheating word, but yeah, no, that extra lap may cause you some benefit, so I'm glad they made it out. But to your point, if you fuel enough, that could be beneficial. But if you overfuel and don't make that last lap, then that might have made your prior lap not as quick as it could have been.
Hey, we're racers. We'll put as many, mistakes or whatever as we can put out there and claim it's someone else's fault.
Exactly.
So I think he's cheating. I think the sun was in my eyes personally. I didn't have enough fuel. My setup wasn't very good,
There's always an excuse why you're not number one, until you're number one, and then there are no excuses other than skill why you were the best in the race.
Well, except that everyone else will say you're number one because you sandbagged to not be in the group in front of you.
Yeah, let's see what Anastasi can do. It doesn't necessarily... Oh, goes into the pits. What a disappointment there. But I'll give Anastasi provisional pole right now. And let's see what our golds can do as they come across the start-finish straight right now to start their hot lap.
Well, that is a good practice. Going into the pits instead of just jumping back to them does give you a good practice with the pit stops. I messed it up yesterday, and I ruined my entire race by pressing the pit lane button a bit too many times. So, hey, if you get one last practice, go for it. And everyone else behind you, yeah, they're trying to warm up their tires. They're also, as you know, in this league, you cannot pass somebody when they're on a hot lap, when you're on a hot lap, etc. during qualifying. So, if you're the last silver to drive, you may not have to worry too much about a whole bunch of gold cars coming against you because, A, they can't pass you, but B, they want to spread out. They want 2 or 3 seconds between each car to make sure that if someone messes up in front of them, they don't catch them in a bad way, or if they mess up, they don't get caught from the guy behind you, or if even they're faster, they don't want to get caught. The point is, you need to have a bit of a gap between you and the next car during qualifying.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if you look at the track map here, I think the Golds have done a really nice job spreading themselves out across the track, where hopefully they won't run into each other on their hot laps.
Yeah, and I'll say, yesterday, I had a problem where on my first lap out, I just didn't get enough heat into the tires. And I sort of knew that going into turn 1, but I messed it up, and then I had to go around the lap while maintaining a pace that kept me in front of the guy that was chasing me, who was on a fast lap and probably did not invalidate, but also trying to stay a little bit far back from the guy in front of me, so I still had a gap. And it can be tough, but I was able to pull it off and get a lap in. These are the things you have to pay attention to as your own strategist.
Yeah, and I think that's, as we've been talking about all season, being your own strategist is definitely not an easy task when you're trying to drive. And I definitely messed up Spa trying to do math in my head and driving at the same time. So yeah, no, more power to these guys to think ahead, as you said, figure out your pit strategy and how to enter the pits safely and efficiently, so you can minimize any time loss there.
Looks like we're getting a few golds across the line now, and obviously their first lap is not going to be as strong as you expect, but it does seem to be Porsche's, heading up top, at least from what we're seeing here. I will say, as driving the Porsche yesterday, some of the really special parts of this track, Silverstone, Maggots and Beckett's, I was pulling on a bunch of people because of how much, getting some weight over the front tires allows you to get that turn in, so it really allows you to sort of almost side slip through the entire set of those S's. And then the same thing goes for the, sort of 3 tight turns in the rest of the track, because every time someone in a faster AMG, Aston Martin, whatever is catching you in the straights, you're easily able to defend into the turns and even gain a few tenths coming out of them, at least in my league. So yeah, you may watch those Porsches. The McLarens have a similar sort of ability to, dance on that mid-engine versus the rear-engine sort of balance, and definitely this track has a lot of powerful straights, but the turns are where you gain the most time, I think.
Yeah, it's really nice using the throttle balance in the Porsche here to keep your car going in the right direction. It really does play a major role, I feel, here versus driving this track in the Ferrari a couple seasons ago and the McLaren again a few seasons ago. You definitely can, I think, even more so with the Porsche, really turn your car with the throttle and keep yourself going in the right direction.
I will say though, because a lot of that slip, the side slip from your rear tires allowing you to turn better, it also wears your tires down faster. And the Porsche is known for wearing its tires down faster at lots of tracks, especially this. Most people I know who were driving the Porsche yesterday were talking about how their tires were done after 10, 11, 12 minutes into their, new stints. So what you end up having to do is either adjusting the way you drive, or what I was doing is I ended up having to pumping up my brake bias towards the front every couple laps because I kept losing tire pressure in the front versus the rear, sliding my rear around all that. So there's benefits and there's detraction, which is why, balance of power keeps everything so sort of close. That's why you can drive a Porsche around here roughly as fast as you can drive a much more powerful but heavier AMG.
Yeah, and I just wanted to switch to Victor Diaz here, number 1 right now on track with a 157.9. First lap in the 157s, followed by Martin, Lakshmi, and Stefiuk. And to your point on BOP, we have Lakshmi driving that Honda in number 3 right now, and Martin driving the Porsche in number 2. So definitely, I think the money, at least on the crowd that was racing tonight, really was worried about Diaz, and Diaz right now has provisional pole, so they're definitely worried about them pushing this race.
Yeah, Victor Diaz didn't have the best race last week, but he is leading the championship right now by only 4 points. That is a very close race. Only behind him is Jared Seckham. So depending on how, Jared qualifies tonight, if I even see his name on there. Okay, yeah, he's way back probably because he hasn't got a good lap in yet. He's got enough time, maybe 1 or 2 more laps, but that should definitely play into as this race goes on. If Diaz can qualify higher or even much higher than Secombe, that'll help towards the championships, because 4 points is nothing. You cannot leave 4 points on the board and be within 1 or 2 places of that guy. You gotta be a couple at least, unless you're in pole start to finish. A 57.9 though is very strong, and like I said, we were looking for the 57s for the top of these D2 drivers.
Yeah, and even goes fast. I think even goes faster now with the 157.7. So Diaz is definitely pushing for this win. We'll switch to the standings in between qualifying and the race, so we can catch up on some of the team numbers as well. As I'm sure they're again pushing for the team victory, or the constructors championship, as it's sometimes put.
I mean, depending on how much practice they did, you kind of can't tell if it's really their fastest lap or not. But in the seasonal fast lap trial servers, Diaz was second in D2, at least from what I'm seeing, with a 57.6. So he's very close to that time already. And P1 in at least that setting was Zach Martin. And he's in P3 right now with somewhere in the 58, so we'll see if he can pull that off. But it looks like they're putting in pretty close laps to what they've got, and yeah, I mean, this is going to be a lot of fast drivers on a fast track. Nice sunny day, optimum track weather. It'll be a little bit colder as the track goes on. You might have seen that last night. Starts out around 25, drops down. That also doesn't help when you start losing tire pressure and the way you slip your tires around, and say like the Porsche and stuff. All those things are things you need to really pay attention to during the race that maybe don't apply so much to the 10 minutes you're out qualifying here.
Yeah, so Secombe, our number 2 driver in the standings, is a 158.8 or 158.9 right now. We basically have 15 drivers in the 158s, so they're definitely all fast here in D2 tonight. And it'll be interesting to see who can maintain this pace during the race and hopefully avoid any catastrophe. So qualifying is over. Or
as they come to the line, yeah.
Final lap.
Yeah. I wonder, did anyone just make it through? Is who's out on the main straight there going to Maggots and Beckett's?
Car number 15 or
15?
19? It's hard to tell on my screen. It might be Diaz. Might be 15 Allen. I think that's who's out there. So Allen's number 11 right now in the Aston.
Yeah, Diaz shown his checkered flag.
Track.
So we'll see if Allen can pull off a miracle and take everybody out right now. You know,
so here's Aston on screen right now. I'm sorry, Allen on screen in the Aston. Nope. Seems to have run wide and invalidated. So this will be for glory, or for show more than any kind of glory right now, as the session is over. So we have our top drivers, Diaz and Stefiuk, both in the 157s, followed by Martin, Lakshmi, Anastasi, our top silver driver, Manperson, Krochik, Platt, Higgs, and Key, our top 10. But before we get this race going, I'll switch over to the standings so we can take a look at who our top drivers are. As Sam said, we have Diaz, Secombe, followed by Damiani, Dunham, and Manperson, all fighting for the top. While the top is 4 points between the two, it definitely does spread out after the top two. So I definitely think that that's our battle right now is between Diaz and Secombe for first and second.
I think, you know, one of the things we've seen over the last few races is certain drivers have done, you know, exceptionally well in battles with multiple cars. So we're talking about like Guy Manperson here, right? With multiple cars where he's fighting, maybe he loses some places, pulls off an undercut going into the pits. You know, he's someone who was able to really battle his way through to get a good place. And that's something that's going to happen here in Silverstone, especially because tonight you are allowed to pit for tires, not fuel. So that comes into the strategy as well, where when you pit for fuel, you can sort of do it right away and then just keep going. The tires last the whole time. You do get a benefit from waiting longer on your tires here. So we'll see as some of those drivers who may do a little bit better in strategy versus just straight outright speed, you know, go through the rest of this race.
I think that's a really good point with the tires, especially with your commentary on the Porsches and other cars that may be harder on their tires. Can they still, push through some of those issues and maintain high places because of that? And with, as you said, the track getting colder as the night progresses or the day progresses, does a tire change help you to then get some heat back in your tires, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, one thing to look into as you go into that pit stop, though, is even if you are changing tires, even if you're not changing tires, slowing down like that cools off your tires. So when you come out, you'll have colder tires. When you come out, you'll have colder brakes. And in this track, the pit out leads you directly down a straight into Maggots and Beckett's. Luckily, you don't really need your brakes there. You can just sort of lift off and downshift like we were talking earlier, so that's helpful. However, if your tires are a little bit cold, you're probably going to run wide in those S's. So it's something to pay attention to. When you go to pit, you may have fresher tires. They will be cold. You've got to warm them up a little bit.
No, definitely. So as we head out on the parade lap, again, we have Diaz followed by Stefia, both of the McLarens. I think both are teammates. As we go back to very quickly to the team standings, we have Diaz and Stefia, who have 917 points. So they definitely have to have an excellent evening to push ahead of Champion Motorsports with Damiani and Dunham, and even try to reach Madperson and Sacombe in #1 position right now. So it'll be interesting to follow both the individual drivers, but also those teams as we go into it. So again, those were the teams, and then the drivers. 4 points between Diaz and Sacombe. Sacombe starting down the order in 16th, so we'll see if they can push to the top and try to take over Diaz in the single driver standings.
Ooh, apparently Damiani disconnected and has been teleported to the pits, so he will be starting there instead of 14th, which, hey, sometimes is a blessing in disguise depending on what happens in turn 1.
Yeah. My second pole of the season, I ran into some technical issues in between the end of the gold qualifying and the race, and that was definitely a scramble for me to get my car out onto the racetrack. So although we're doing virtual racing, there can be equipment issues that lead you to scramble, just like the real drivers need to replace some part of their car going into the race.
Well, also, some people just need to go for the glory, and they want to go from last to first. So let's see how many sandbags fall off of Damiani as he goes through this race.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. So good luck to them in this race.
Yeah, and Secom definitely didn't do himself any favors by qualifying that far back when he's going to be fighting for the championship here. 4 points is not much, but it's sure looking like a lot further now.
Yeah, what do you think you would do? If would you think about changing your strategy up now to try to push for the front, or you just run your race like you would have?
I think I run my race maybe cautiously, because I don't think you're going to make up that many places against these fast drivers. I think the best bet is that something's going to happen where, your nemesis or whatever gets a drive-through because he's, overdriving, or you're able to pull off a pit stop and get back into free air, and he ends up catching up some blue flags. That's sort of your best bet. But, I mean, honestly, Secom is far enough back where he needs either a lot of chaos that he can get around and dodge to jump him up into the top 10 and then fight his way to the near front, if not front. But as we've seen, if someone gets through the first turn or first couple turns in P1 and they've made themselves P1 on merit, then they tend to disappear into the ether there. So it's a tough ask.
Yeah, so as we go around the final turn, just going on to what'll be our start-finish straight here, we'll see what Diaz and Stefia can do from the front row of the grid.
Yeah, certainly we need to look at turn 1 here. That'll be the scariest turn right at the start, and then Maggots and Beckett's can be a little bit tight, so we'll see as everyone gets on the gas and how they lift and brake through the beginning of this. There's a little bit of a gap there you can see between them, and as they start going, some of them got a bit started. We've got someone going around the outside trying to go 3 wide, and 3 does not go around
And
turn
there's
1.
a fair amount of mayhem right there.
That's the
maybe
chaos we were talking about.
Beneficial for Sacombe trying to get back into the race.
Yeah, I was gonna say that probably helped him get at least a few places. I mean, that's, you know, somebody not paying attention or getting the gas just a little bit late, and then we've got the, you know, dark colored or black
Yeah,
McLaren
sorry,
kind
I
of
was trying to
inside
pick up
there.
Oh wait, that's Diaz. Stand by.
No,
No,
he's
that's
still in front.
Sorry,
Yeah.
poor ACC standings right there.
Yeah,
But
but that knocked
Secombe
out
is up into
4
ninth
of the
right
top
now
10.
after that mayhem on the first lap.
Pit window's open.
Certainly expected. I mean, at least it's not the end of the race for those drivers. You know, in the beginning lap or even couple laps, everyone's so close to each other. They have to brake so early. You can keep up with the pack. It doesn't look like any of that was huge damage. There's a lot of runoff. There's no walls there, but certainly they've lost all of their chance of running towards the front, bar some other sort of chaos. So just got to get back into it, you know, get in the groove. And for those guys, they've got to make their way through a whole bunch of silver drivers, I imagine.
No, yeah, I mean, they definitely need to keep pushing to make the race matter for them.
At least it looks like Diaz isn't just running away. I mean, he's got a few car lengths, but it's certainly not, you know, jumping out and then saying goodbye to everyone. So hopefully Stefiak and Martin can sort of keep up. We saw Martin was P1 in the seasonal hot laps here, so he's obviously got fast pace. And we have 4 McLarens surrounding him, so, I mean, it'll be maybe a tough battle for him specifically, but if we have that many McLarens up front, we'll probably not have Diaz just running away completely with this, hopefully.
Yeah, let's see what his teammate's going to do in number 2, Stefiak there. Are they going to play some kind of team game or are they just both going to drive flat out to try to take over the first position?
Yeah, so do we know who actually got cut up in that? Because I'm looking, Anastasi is way back there. I imagine he is probably someone who got cut up. I think Chad is saying maybe Krawczyk and Arjun Lakshmi.
Man Person, Lakshmi, and Krawczyk and Anastasi seem to be the... So Man Person, Lakshmi, Krawczyk, and Anastasi seem to have dropped the most places. So
yeah, there was the 4, and then maybe
4,
some people
5,
dodging
6,
them.
and 7. It looks like 4, 5, 6, and 7 were involved in that incident.
Oof, that is tough. But there is a long race to go. Things can happen. Not the worst case scenario. Plus, those are automatic penalties, so sometimes you'll see this race finish, and we, at least in the series, will find out what may happen in the end. Unfortunately, we don't, you know, put up some video after to show what really finished. But hey, you know, join our Discord, join our series, join our league, and you'll figure out.
Yeah, maybe we'll drop back to Kesa right now, who's right behind Sacombe in the white Ferrari here, with Dunham right on Queso's tail. So we have Sacombe, Queso, and Dunham, 9, 10, 11 right here in your screen.
So Queso in the chat recently was talking about how he's apparently garbage at Silverstone, which I don't think anyone believed. I think he's going to be right here in the middle, fighting for, you know, the places. I think he'll be able to keep up there. Everyone knows he's a good driver. And look at that, just scared. I mean, who is that? Dunham wide? Yeah. You can't do that. You can't go out that wide that many times.
As you were talking about Queso being crap on this track, definitely lost 1 or 2 places there. Dropped down into 12th, but nonetheless, we'll see what happens at the end of this race.
Well, he heard I was telling him he was sandbagging. He's trying to pretend like he wasn't, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
That
Living
liar.
up to his own poor hype of himself. But hopefully he can push back and gain those two places, as his competitors seem to be scared of his white Ferrari coming up on their tails.
And something else to look forward to is once everyone starts their pit stops, the pit lane going into here is actually pretty long. And you can carry speed for a fairly long time, but then the pit limiter line comes up to you fast. A lot of people have been slowing down a little bit too early, and you can lose time doing that. So you can miss out on your undercut by going too slow in there, and you can even jump people in the pit lane. In fact, me and the car behind me jumped the guy in front of us going to pit lane yesterday because he slowed down too early. So, ooh, that was close in on the tail. Queso going right up to the spicy end of the car in front of him.
Yeah.
Definitely living up to his Fire Queso name there.
Yeah, I'm going to drop over to Sacombe as a close battle here with Dunham. Then Sacombe 0.3 of a second behind, followed by Diggs.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting to see some of those silvers stuck up there in the top 10 of the gold. Obviously, they moved through the 4 that had crashed, but still, we'll see some of those guys who are maybe only silver because they qualified a little bit worse and they've either gained times or... Okay, wait a minute. That is not good. We're going to probably see a crash here.
Is that glitching
Is
on
that...
me? Or
No,
the
I don't
server?
think so. That's that car, I believe. Where did they disappear to? Who was that just
I don't
dropped
know, they're
down?
on the infield.
I thought it was Secom first, but that would have been real bad. I do not see who's dropped back that far, but that looks like... Oh, they might have teleported. They might be in the pits right now. Something 7 I'm seeing on your screen.
Maybe Anastasi?
Anastasi. Oh, no. No, not Anastasi. Oh, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, so right now the closest racing on the track is Anderson, Berg, and Lotufo, followed by Kish in 12, 13, 14, and 15 that you see on your screen right now.
Yeah, I mean, look at Bailey Kish coming up there in the Aston Martin. He is right on the McLaren's tail. He is definitely just a little bit faster. I think he's looking for an option to go by. We'll see if he has some sort of dive into any one of these coming turns. But of course, when you're in a pack of 4 like this, you sort of have to split defending and attacking. I mean, look at that. The McLaren just went right by the tail of the BMW in front of him. Might have slowed him down, might have led Bailey to catch up. But then you have the BMW who's now trying to catch up to this Porsche in front. All 4 of these cars, remember, are completely different. We've got a Porsche, a BMW, a McLaren, and Aston. We've got rear engine, front engine, mid-engine, and also front engine, but different weights to the other front. Every one of them might take a turn slightly different, might be on the throttle a bit better, a bit worse.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you're trying to keep close to the car in front of you that has a completely different kind of strategy than you do to make themselves go through those turns as fast as possible. So it's driving your own race, but also avoiding crashing into the cars that are now impediments to your hot laps that you're trying to put in.
So here's something I can't understand. I think we saw Anastasi teleport to the pits, but it also has him as green in the game anyway, as being successfully completing his mandatory pit stop. I thought that couldn't be done, but hey, maybe it is, and maybe that's fine. So, I mean, that would be at least one saving grace for him, that he didn't have to go in the pits, go around, and pit stop again later, if he was allowed to make that work. Oh, look, right actually behind Andrew here, we've got the McLaren of Lotufo coming right up on the Porsche of Anderson, really trying to come up on his side in that last turn. As I was talking about earlier, the Porsches can make up time on the turn, and now he's already got 2 or 3 car lengths on that McLaren, just from, making it around there, staying on line, and having the McLaren sort of have to fight for it.
Yeah, I'll drop down to man person, which is all over the back of Kish right now. Or,
Is he? Did Damiani pass I think
we
Kish is right
lost
in front of
Damiani,
him.
unless,
Yeah, this
I
is
don't-
Damiani in front of him. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, Guy Manperson seems to have lost that place. Must be some good fighting right there. Remember, Guy Manperson has been in some really, group fights, 3, 4, 5 cars, and been able to stay in front, been sort of hit back. He's just sort of in those battles, but he was able to gain a lot of places through his pit stop last week. So we'll see if he tries some sort of undercut again today.
and we'll switch up to Allen, who's 0.4 of a second behind Platt, number 6 place on track right now. Yeah, everyone seems to spread themselves out. There's a few battles in the midfield. Lakshmi trying to fight their way back up in the Honda, right now in 20th place. 0.3 of a second behind 19th place Hartman in the Ferrari. But there's definitely a group of people that are trying to fight themselves back into this race.
Yeah, on our data screen at least, can you show me the times to see who's got the fastest lap right now? Diaz has the fastest lap, but I imagine he's running in the 58s, high 58s. Yeah, nobody's really been able to pull off something, qualifying fast. Remember, they've got tons of fuel because they can't change for fuel in this race. And at the same time, nobody's really that far out in front of anybody, so they're not able to just have straight up qualifying lap pace. High 58s is still very good, but the rest of the group seems to be high 59s to low 2 minutes. There's certainly a big train right here as we're watching sort of the leader of that train. Might be Jason Allen, might be Platt in front of him actually, yeah. So Platt right here in the McLaren, the light blue McLaren you're seeing on your screen, is more or less the stopper in the bottle of the next 10 or 15 cars. Everyone's sort of right behind him. So that'll be, I think, the gap we're watching of the closest races, whereas the front 4 or 5 should be able to sort of hot lap and try to find their strategy to keep up with each other. You may look at, with Platt in back, the first 4 are 3 McLarens and 1 Porsche, as we've talked about. That is maybe telling about the BOP in this track specifically.
Yeah, and Stefiuk just has the fastest lap on track, getting into the 158. So we're getting down into our qualifying times, even with high fuel and the start of this race.
Well, remember, Stefiuk is within a second of Diaz right now, so he is getting some streaming effect.
True.
Which is going to allow him to get a little bit of that faster lap. And then, so that's P1 and P2. P3 and P4 are also within a second of each other, so P4 will get that streamline effect. So you may see, somebody getting these faster laps while still ending up being a few car lengths behind the other car. And it's really all about just getting that streamline, that slipstream, whatever you call it, maybe even bump drafting on some of these straights.
Yeah, that's a good point. Diaz is definitely creating that hole for Stefiuk to drive through. Let's take a look at Higgs and Martin. Again, 0.7 of a second. Higgs behind Martin right now. That's the real life gap on track, trying to chase down that Porsche.
Ooh, that's going a bit wide, going in deep. And so this is something that you'll see a lot if you don't really know, GT racing all that well, or maybe you're new to sim racing. So everyone has different braking zones, and it doesn't only depend on the car, it depends on the setup too. So sometimes when you brake at the time you're supposed to brake, you may find yourself closing that gap on the car in front of you way faster than you thought. You have to hit on the brakes a lot harder, maybe swerve a little bit, and that can slow you down. So you need to learn what the car in front of you is doing. You need to pay attention for a little while. Learn your enemy strengths and weaknesses, and then go after that.
Yeah, that's what always drives me crazy in the lower divisions, where people just see a gap that doesn't actually exist because they came up on something that they don't totally understand. and then wind up pushing you both off track just because you're on kind of a different feel of the track, rather than waiting and taking the right attack when a car is truly not going to beat you on the next corner, because they're on a different kind of braking and accelerating strategy.
Well, that's that famous quote, right, that has ruined half of the sim racers out there will say, is that, you know, if you don't go for a gap, you're not a real racer, or whatever, to paraphrase, which just gets in people's heads of, I should always brake late, I should always try to stick my car's nose right inside the tail of that other car, and simply, the person who said that is a much better driver than all of us. The people who apply that are much better drivers than us, so if you see a gap, you may not need to go for it if you can.
Yeah, at least understand where that person is braking, you know, every lap before you think that they're braking early or braking late and you can get past them when you really probably can. As we see Diggs here pushing on Moffitt, going down the last of the straights, if you will, going into the last two turns.
Yeah, definitely getting up alongside him, but I mean, that's what happens with most of the turns here at Silverstone, is that there's sort of long stretches of straights or like sloping curves that you can stay on the gas for, but then the turns come closely packed together. So even if you have a run on somebody, you come up on the inside, you're going to be on the outside seconds later. So something that people really need to learn is, you know, sort of looking ahead multiple turns. Attacking somebody on the inside seems like the right thing to do at all times. The inside line is the best line, it's the shortest line. But if you're not prepared to then go around the outside, if you're not prepared to switch back on them, especially at a track like this, you're not going to be able to make the overtake.
Yeah, I think that's the nice way to say the point I was trying to make before, is think ahead. Like Queso right now overdrove themselves in that Ferrari back there. And Berg might actually catch up to them, though we'll see at the end of the straight here.
I'm surprised that Secom hasn't, you know, gained a few places here. Certainly they're all within a second of each other, so that can be a little bit difficult. You know, other drivers are similarly good. And to be honest, your placement overall, being 4 points beyond the leader, has as much to do with, you know, a little bit of luck in this race or here and there. Somebody maybe not showing up for one race as much, because remember, there's only 8 races. So it's maybe not an exact, you know, science saying this guy is P2 and therefore he much passed everybody, but he gained some places with that big chaos at the beginning, and now he seems to be a little bit stuck in the straight.
Yeah, no, that's always you know, a difficulty, you know, when you don't put yourself in front in qualifying, you're only trying to fight back kind of that whole time. You don't get to control your race as much as you may have if you were in the front.
Yeah, and we've talked about this over and over. When you're in a fight, it slows you down. And being in the front of a fight, you're defending, that's a little bit slower. Being in the back of the fight and you're attacking, that's a little bit slower. Being in the middle is just chaotic on your brain. It's so hard for someone to think about, okay, am I going to brake too late and crash into the guy in front of me? What line should I take? And at the same time, let's look at my rear view mirror and try to defend against that guy too, or that girl. You know, whoever's driving around you, when you're in a sandwich like that, that is the hardest thing you can do in racing, I believe.
Yeah, it's the same thing on the highway. You just want to stay out of the chaos. You know, driving in the right-hand lane, there are people going to be entering and exiting the highway. That only adds more to your brain trying to figure out what's safe for me and my family. So the same thing here. You want to stay out of the fray as much as you can.
Yeah, look at that. Just what we were talking about. Overtake, coming in perfectly, seems to have it done. He has finished it now. Great job for Secom there. But almost allowed Diggs to come back on him because of what we talked about. Turn after turn, when they're chained like that and they have an inside, outside, it's very difficult to just do a nice, easy overtake if you don't pull it off on the straight.
Exactly. And so as we look at the standings here, I think it's interesting that right now, Stefia, we'll have to find someone to do the math for us, but Diaz and Stefyuk are somewhere around 43 points behind Manperson and Sacombe right now in the driver standings. Manperson and Sacombe are currently 11 and 17 on track, and number 2, Damiani and Dunham, are 15 and 20 on track. So the drivers' standings are up if Sacombe can come back, but the Diaz and Stefyuk could very well move a few places up, if not win the team championship tonight.
Something to even, look into is that there are points lost for a drop race.
Right.
Now, if one team had a drop race or their drivers had a drop race that was much worse than another team, depending on how they turn out in this race, they may actually gain points over another team in this race if they did worse than vice versa. So even then, it's kind of hard to tell who is, in the lead or not, because when we look at these leaderboards, it does include the drop points from at least one of the races.
Yeah, I can turn off the drop races, but I still can't do the math real time to figure out what everyone's lowest race is and how that may change. But we'll still root for all these teams to have their best race and see what happens at the end of another 39 minutes here.
I was elected to commentate, not to calculate.
Yeah, we need real-time statisticians, just like these guys need real-time strategists, and no one paid for that for season 10. So maybe season 11 we can get a sponsor to sponsor the statisticians for us.
Yeah, it does look like Guy Manperson is in the pits right now. Krawczyk has pitted already, so there are some strategies coming into play, or maybe some issues that have popped up that they are trying to recover from. But those drivers, 21 through 23, Manperson, Krawczyk, and Anastasi, who we think had a, disconnect, they're going to have tires that are much older than everyone else's going into the final few laps. So potentially they're able to carry that off, but that's something to be watched out for, is track position sometimes is not worth as much as tire age.
Yeah, so what do you think here? When do you think Diaz and Stefyuk are going to pit? Are they going to hold this out as long as possible and maybe come in with 20, 15 minutes left, or maintain their front position?
I think it may be even less than 20 or 15 minutes, because in a league where everyone is so close and you're not really going to run into back markers too often, right? You're not really lapping people all that well compared to a league that has a really big gap between P1 and the final drivers. I think that you can go much longer on your tires, and if you're in the front couple of cars, there's no reason not to, unless the battle that you have is close enough that it's slowing you both down, in which case I think that you would be better off, if we're looking here at this, let's just say this battle right now, right? We're looking at Jason Allen and we're looking at Key right behind him, I believe.
You got
or is
Platt
that
now.
Platt now? Okay. So in this case right now, you've got a very close battle. I think if I'm Platt, I'm thinking about trying to do an undercut, because Allen is probably slowing you down as he's defending you against you, and that's your best bet to get free air. It will give Allen some free air to go out and drive, but if Allen pits, then you're going to slow Platt down going into that turn. Good for him. But now he's got to go out. He's got to go do a solo lap by himself and try to get back in. I think I would try to be the undercutter here in this track if you're in a close battle.
Yeah, so the recommendation here is for Allen, the car behind, to pit, to try to overcome Platt on that pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you realize if it's actually hurting your race with the person that you're battling against, and you're bringing in the people behind you up into your battle, which will slow everyone down even more, even put danger into it, where someone might make a dive that's a little bit too risky. And here we go, Jason Allen taking the undercut plan right here. So that's what I would do. That's I think a great plan, as long as he's slowed down correctly and he has a good pit stop where he actually turns off the ignition at the right time and actually turns on the starter at the right time. This could be good for him. He's got to make sure to make the most of his outlap, though. Oh, wow, that was timing right there, huh?
Yeah, I saw them coming up on each other. I don't know who took out who there. It was Damiani
Yeah, Damiani was just trying to make that work a bit too tight, I think. I think that he was pretty close into the side. I think he could have been given maybe a little bit more space, but man, that's hard to call, I would say. How did he close that gap so quickly, too?
Let's see if I picked it up properly. I tried to,
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
to wait. No, sorry guys.
I guess
I
not.
gotta work on my my instant replays for next year. Yeah, switching to the closest battle on track, which is what that was up until that. Here you have Sacombe and Berg, two BMWs following each other.
I will say, now that Damiani took out Latufo, people can't claim that Latufo's cheating or anything like they have in the last few weeks.
Yeah, just see where Allen now is in 19th place after that pit stop. So leading the current pitters in 19th place, but you'll see all those orange ones from 1 to 18 indicating that they have yet to pit. So we'll see what Allen can do there on fresh tires and potentially clean air.
Well, also, so he's 33 seconds or so behind the provisional last place in front of him, right? 30 seconds is the minimum pit stop time once you're stopped because of tire changes here, plus another 20 or so on that. So we've got to look roughly 20 to 25 seconds in front of Allen to see where he might come out. And here's someone else going into the pits.
Moffat, I
Who's
think,
that?
just
Moffat. Platt apparently
Yeah.
pitted also, so we have two drivers that are not quite close in the track, and there's Chan pitting too. So three drivers that all had some gaps on them. They should come out with a gap between themselves and therefore all have some roughly clean air. However, this happened a little bit in the last race where drivers kept pitting lap after lap in sort of different dissimilar groups, which means they end up, you know, coming back into place with people that you can't time as well. If you and somebody pit at the same time, you kind of know where they're coming out. If you pit at the same time as someone with a 5-second gap to you, then you don't really know when you come back around the next lap if you're going to come out with somebody you were fighting earlier with two people. It's much harder to figure that out when you don't have somebody in your ear telling you.
No, exactly. So here's Platt coming out in the midst of the head of the pitters right now. So while Platt did pit from high up, Platt did not lose any track position to the cars behind him, but definitely presumably to the cars in front that can still push. So it'll be interesting to see, as you said, those drivers that were 6 seconds ahead of Platt, where are they going to come out, you know, a few minutes or 10, 15, 20 minutes from now.
Well, remember, right now he's got cold tires and colder brakes. So he's going through some, you know, sweeping turns. He's going to hit the brakes really hard going into the chicane here. He's certainly going to lose even a little bit more time on this outlap than he would if he had kept going. So it is something to pay attention to, is that gap sort of widens as you go out there. But it does look like through timing, he may actually be behind Allen. He may not have been the lead
No, you're right.
pitter.
You seem to be correct. And then
Yeah,
Van
that's what happens
Persen
with this.
from 23 now sets the fastest lap of the race after
And-
pitting.
Dunham and Anderson are both, and looks like Latufo have all followed each other into the pits, covering each other off. We'll see if Latufo can maybe make a jump and get back up to some place where he was, you know, ruthlessly punted by accident out there. I don't put any blame on that. To be honest, if we look back at it, it may have been a racing incident.
Yeah, no, it definitely didn't seem malicious, but that's always the sad part of racing when you accidentally knock someone off without meaning to.
So we have, at this point,
That's Dunham
12
just
or
leaving
so?
the pit. I was trying to pick it up against. Looks like Dunham may fall behind some of the other people who have already pit. So Dunham's coming out later, so it's possibly undercut, though I don't remember where Allen was at the time. Seems to have, as we switch back to Allen, Dunham maybe behind Allen when this does shake
Oh
out.
yeah, he's pretty far behind Allen. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance there that, you know, people had slower pit-ins, especially when you pit with a group like we were talking about. I don't remember 100% where they all were, though, honestly. We should probably pay attention to that more in the upcoming. But if you will take a look at the top 6, we now have 3 Porsches, which are obviously the best cars out there, with some unfortunate McLarens and other people, but who cares? Porsches are, we should stop the race right now and give them all their due.
Yeah, you have Martin and Higgs pitting right now, it seems, as well as Diggs and Secombe. So it seems like in the top 10, we have 5 of them pitting right now. So I'll switch to Martin in the pits. And then we've got Higgs, Diggs, and Secombe also all in the pits as well. So we'll see where everyone circulates out relative to Allen.
Yeah,
Just
and this
trying
is
to
pretty much the standard pit stop strategy that I use, right? We're just halfway through the race. It's a great way to split it up into sort of 2 30-minute sprint races, take a break, take some, you know, breathers, get back out there and go again. I personally like that the most. I think it means that you can be consistent where in the first half hour you find out what'll happen to your tires at the end of the stint. You go back out and you'll sort of know at the end of the next half hour with the difference of, you know, fuel. Oh man, Diggs probably did what I did, speeding the pit lane. Stop, go 30, that is going to ruin his race, especially in a group this close. That is unfortunate.
But Allen seems to, seems to have lost out to Martin, who maintains presumably a high, the highest of the pitters right now, followed by Higgs. So Allen number 3 right now. I don't remember again at where Allen was. To your point, Sam, we need to take some screenshots of where these people are. 15 minutes into the race, so we can figure out what happens. But
you
yeah,
can look at their place changes, can't you, in one of the data screens that we have? Oh yeah, there we go. So, wow, okay, so we're looking at, you know, a lot of golds that maybe qualified outside of where they should be that are still staying out, like Damiani here. And Queso, of course. Key did great last week, staying up near the front in silver, going to the pits now. Queso in the pits now. We'll see where they come out, but Key was roughly 18 to 20 seconds away from Stefiuk and the top 2 drivers, so the top 2 really are running away with it right now.
Yeah, so let's switch to who's going to come up on Key right now. Key's in the pits. It looks like we have Martin. Let's see where Martin's coming around the last turn. Let's see if Martin's going to take over in front of Key right now, or is Key going to make it out?
Ooh, wow, that's closer than I thought. Nope, there we go. Right past those 2 in the pits.
So Martin took him.
We'll see if Diggs comes in to take his SG30 right now, or if he goes... Yep, okay, so Diggs, we're going to watch him drop down, probably to last place, unfortunately.
And Queso
and Key coming out. Mm-hmm. So we've only got 5 people left to pit. Zuch is pretty far back from the top 4. I think there's another gap, though, between Berg and Stefiuk that we're not seeing right now. It's probably another 20 or 30 seconds anyway. So we have sort of 2... Yeah, we have 2 groups you can see at the front. P1 and P2 are just about to come onto the main straight. Maybe they'll pit. We'll see in a second. P3 and P4 are just coming down the Wellington straight. And then the rest are all in sort of a loose train, as we can see. There's not as many battles as we saw early on, mostly because of pit stops and other things. So maybe some will filter out into there, but we'll try to keep an eye on these guys.
Yeah, Stefiuk went into the pits. Diaz seemed to have stayed out. So here's Stefiuk in the pits, and Diaz is still on track.
Except on the track map, P2 seems to be bouncing back and forth between the pits right now. So I think that's Damiani, or what's 150? I don't know. I can't see it really on the map, but it looks like they're teleporting back to the pits whoever's behind
156
Diaz right
maybe?
now. Yeah, that's not looking good. Hopefully he won't
That's
disconnect.
Diggs. Diggs is 156.
Ooh, okay, yeah, I've been watching. I mean, it seems a little bit steadier right now, but for maybe the first 10 seconds of this lap, he was bouncing back and forth. So that is something to unfortunately watch out for as he dropped down the ladder
Yeah, so Stefiuk pit and came out in fourth, or maybe fourth on my screen. Zuch still ahead, but when Zuch pits from way behind, Stefiuk's going to still maintain third place and be right up there.
It looks like he's third on the in the in-game. Oh no, okay, he's fourth there in the game.
Switched,
Okay, yeah. So there's, let's see, 23 plus that time. Yeah, Stefiuk should maintain his second place. However, he wasn't that far behind Diaz. Let's see if Stefiuk can pull off an undercut. Diaz is going into the pits right now to cover that off. This is who we need to watch. We need to see when Diaz comes out, does Stefiuk pull off the undercut or does he come up right underneath his tail? And unfortunately, that means we're going to sit here for 30 seconds on one driver and just maintain this. But this is important. This is for the lead of this race. This is for the runaway points in the championship. Stefiuk is coming around. He's going to be on the Wellington straight right now. Full throttle all the way down. He is... It seems like he's still pretty far away, and that's a little bit disconcerting. However, the last few turns, getting on the throttle, remember that Diaz still has to travel down the pit lane at, I think, like 50 kilometers an hour. So this will be a real close finish as they come out of the finish line. Start finish, he's coming across right now. Diaz is moving towards the end of the pit lane. There he goes, he's off his jacks.
Right
Has
there.
Stefiuk pulled this off?
I think Stefiuk just passed him. Or
I don't know. I'm seeing Diaz up significantly far. He looks like he's already in the between Maggots and Beckett. So yeah, that undercut did not work.
yeah, so here's Diaz. So it looked like Diaz still maintained first, as you said.
Yeah, and at this point, you know, he's going to be hard to catch. He's going to be hard to keep up with. I mean, Diaz has slightly warmer tires right now, but it's not going to close a few seconds. And then also near the end of the race, he'll have worse tires. I think as long as Diaz keeps it clean, he's pretty much got this locked in right now.
Yeah. So everyone has pit now except for Zuch in second place. But the McLaren teammates of Diaz and Stefiuk, 1 and 3, which will then become 1 and 2 when Zuch pits. And then maybe Martin can put a Porsche on the podium from on track, ultimately third place.
Yeah, there's not any really big groups, but there are a lot of pairs here that are within a second of each other. So we can sort of jump between them and see where everyone's going. You know, we've got a pair here with Fire Queso and Damiano.
Anastasi here, the closest battle right now, I think, on track.
Oh, this is Anastasi in front of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Oh, wow, that is Anastasi getting a little bit loose here. You can see his tail kick out a little bit. Now, that can lose you a little bit of time so that you get overtaken, but at the same time, it can slow down the car behind you as he has to brake for you. See right there, you know, he was definitely braking later, definitely could have had a faster line, but had to slow down so as not to crash into the back of the Aston Martin. So certainly, I think the Ferrari's got better pace here, but defense is an easier thing to do than offense. He'll just park his car right here on the inside and stay right on the inside line, see if he can keep... No, he's gonna lose it.
But that was exactly what you were talking about earlier. Queso setting him up, going on the outside in the prior turn to get the inside on the last turn there to really move into first, or move ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, in that scenario, if you can think multiple turns ahead, it actually might have been, beneficial for Anastasi to defend the outside line going into that first turn. And it seems counterintuitive, but if you think multiple turns ahead, you may find out that that puts you in a better position later. And now he may lose this other point. You can see right behind us that Damiani is right on Anastasi's tail, looking for the overtake coming down the straight here. Another case of a gold on a silver here. Anastasi's very, very fast, but Damiani does the overtake. Looks like Anastasi honestly let him by there, maybe knowing that his race isn't really with him, not fighting it too closely. And then we'll have Dunham coming up behind Anastasi, and again, that's another gold on silver. Anastasi maybe not really fighting for that. Maybe he's going more for the silver championship right now.
Yeah, I haven't paid attention to that. I'll pull that up on another screen so we can see what's going on with the silver drivers and see who's leading that championship.
Yeah, and certainly we'll see if Damiani can take this battle to fire Queso. I mean, Aston Martin versus the Ferrari, it sort of depends on what you're looking at here. The Ferrari has been strong on a lot of tracks this year. However, it can be a little bit difficult to really get the best pace out of it on some of these tracks based on the balance of power, I think. Aston Martin has usually been a known easier car to drive, so if you can take that and put really consistent laps down, whereas a car like the Ferrari or maybe the McLaren or the Porsche have a little bit difficulty having the consistency because of like the drift, the sides slipping and everything, you just gotta take advantage of that and drive safe but drive quick.
Yeah, what we didn't realize going into this is that Key and Anastasi are tied for first place in the silvers. So Key right now in 7th place and Anastasi in 16th. Absent drop races, Key is likely going to take first place in the silver championship in T2.
Yeah, I wasn't able to keep up this whole season because I was out of town, but I mean, certainly from the last 2 races I've seen of Key, I think that's probably where a lot of his points have come from, jumping into that lead there. So, good on him. He certainly has shown, I think he belongs in the gold group at least.
And this is Higgs on Martin right now.
So if you're new to sim racing, as we've seen at least one person in chat are, the thing, and not even just sim racing, if you're driving on track in real life, etc. When you're driving wheel to wheel against another car, it's very difficult to tell when they're closing in on you versus when you're braking and they're still accelerating, or they're braking later than you are because that's where they are on track. So you have to pay attention. Oh, we have a yellow behind this group actually. Maybe you want to drop back quickly and do a 30-second replay. Right behind this group. Who came in? We may not see it here. That is... Ooh, that is close. I guess it must have happened behind those guys.
Yeah, this was Queso losing at least one place to Damiani, if not to Damiani and Kish.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Anyways, so something you need to pay attention to, especially when we have 4 cars right here going through each turn together, right? And now we've got 2 cars going, 2 wide into Maggots and Beckett. So actually we'll just follow those guys and we'll see. You have inside, outside, inside, outside here. It looks like the overtake is done, but when an overtake has happened on you, look at Bailey Kish, I believe, here up in front of Queso. He's just lost a place. He's had to slow down a little bit. He may end up losing 2 or 3 places. That's what can happen when you're in a group, is a little bit of momentum lost can end up being multiple places lost. Oh, look at that. Right around the inside. Beautiful driving. Queso dropping back even further, unfortunately. And look, another Aston on Aston fight. Going around the outside this time. Something has happened to Bailey Kish. He has either lost confidence, he's lost tires, or he's just been in a lot of trouble losing momentum in this battle. But he went from I believe, P12 now to P14, and he may be about to lose P15 here. Or lose to P15, I guess, or 14. It's hard to, Queso, there we go. Queso's 14. So Bailey Kish, I believe, was in P12, yeah, at the time. Washed. Now that we're sort of looking at it, I mean, look at how, if we look at these two cars and we just stay on these two cars, every time we come into a heavy braking zone, they accordion into each other. And if you're the leading car, it can feel like that car behind you is suddenly catching you very quickly. It can make you make mistakes, and you need to sort of worry about, oh no, they're about to, you know, catch me or about to hit me or whatever. I need to maybe take this next turn harder. I need to brake later to get around them. And what you don't realize is actually they're running the same pace as you. And so a fair amount of being in these tight battles is just driving your line and knowing where people are, but not actually paying attention to them and not getting spooked where you go wide like that. And when you go wide like that, you get warnings. If you do it again, you're over driving to defend against the car behind you. We may see, unfortunately, Bailey Kish get a few too many warnings here with 15 minutes, 14 minutes left.
Yeah, to try to avoid that in the race, I pay attention to the differentials. The differentials are obviously dropping right now for Queso to Kish. But if your differentials are staying within 0.5 of a second, they're not going to immediately pass you, right? Unless you make a major mistake. So although they may seem closer to you distance-wise, which they are when you're going into a very tight turn, when you're on a straight going 170 miles an hour, they're going to seem very far away, even though the time differential is very similar.
Oh man, this is beautiful racing. If Queso pulls off this switchback right here, in fact, I think he probably should have pulled that off. I think that Bailey went a little bit wide and probably gained time by doing so. Certainly Bailey came back at Queso in the last couple turns we were watching, and maybe the overtake should have been done there. But the respect in sim racing, the respect here tends to sometimes let overtakes go away because you're trying to stay wide, you're trying to not crash into the cars. Watching these two, you'll see exactly as they've brought the pack of 3 or 4 right in behind them as they're being very respectful going around these turns. And oh, we have yellow behind, maybe behind this group slowing down. Looks like number 7-8 something, 745. Lakshmi. Oh,
it's Lakshmi.
It's Lakshmi, yeah. He has had a tough race. I think he was involved in the early chaos, and now he's probably been knocked even to the back. That's unfortunate. We'll see if Queso can pull this off. Something that you have to have as a race car driver, as a sim racer, as anybody in these sort of sports, is patience.
Oh, and that's the loss of patience right there.
Yeah, might have seen a little bit of the red mist, might have just been close to him for too long. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, just as that happened, I'm switching to Sacome on Krochik right here. I think going down Hanger Straight.
That is a great overtake. Is he going to maintain it, though? This is what we're talking about. Switching back, inside becomes outside on these turns.
Well, here Sacome is going to be on the inside.
Yep, yeah, I think overtake done there as long as he stays tight into this turn. Well done, well done. Wow, this is some good racing in the finale here. Unfortunately, at least somewhat unfortunately, this great racing is not entirely between those who are in the championship right next to each other. It's not like we're looking points against points, but that does not matter when you're looking at this turn by turn.
Exactly. This is Berg behind Moffitt. We'll see what the BMW can do on this Ferrari.
Oh, certainly. Especially, remember, we've got 11 minutes left, so there's going to be some cars that have worse tires right now. Either they pitted earlier or they are just more prone to getting faster turns and side slipping and therefore wearing out their tires around this track. You may look at the temperature as being another degree Celsius below where we started. All that stuff is going to come into play right now.
I think that she's going to switch to another battle between Anastasi and Anderson, which may have evaporated right now. But I'll switch to man person right here because there's a group of cars all together.
Yeah, man person finding himself back in the middle of another group. I think he just likes doing that, you know, I think he just has too much fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we always say going into these races is to have fun and be clean. And having fun, I think, is the most important because you spend a lot of your time in front of these computers and these screens and these wheels. You might as well have some fun since none of us are presumably making millions of dollars doing this.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. We have a group of 6 with 10 minutes left. There is going to be, you know, close braking and avoiding and possibly overtakes here and there in the finale. This is, we have a little bit of a punt in the back. They both seem to have come away okay, but they definitely lost a few seconds. Doesn't seem to be the worst. Hopefully, man person doesn't brake too late into the back of Anderson there. But everyone's going to be slowing each other up. Everyone's going to be trying to take the gap on the inside, on the outside. Man person trying to get down the straight here on the Porsche. He's probably going to take it, to be honest. Yeah, there we go. Anderson knew he had to give it up. And maybe it's a little bit of silver letting gold go, knowing that someone might be faster. Maybe knowing somebody's name and how they drive, too. But wow, yeah, having a group of 5 or 6 to really, you know, race with, I think I would prefer that, even if I'm never gonna get towards the podium or get a whole bunch of places. I've done too many races where it just feels like hot laps, and you're just sort of sitting there, not really even needing to pay attention too much. It's just not fun. You want to be in a division that has close racing. You want to be in a race that has close racing. Look at this. Is he gonna go for an inside dive? Probably not right now. Coming around turn 1, they both went wide. That is definitely not good at this time in the race, depending on how many warnings they have. We'll see though if Andrew Berg can keep this up and maybe pull something off on Moffitt down at the end of the hangar straight here.
Yes, this is Berg and Damiani with Dunham right behind, and like you said, Moffitt leading this pack.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you're new to watching this or if you're somewhat new to SRA and you see how close this racing is, and you hear me talking about how sort of not close some of my past racing is, it's because in other leagues I've been in, the divisions have not been divided well enough, or even we haven't had as many people to create such, you know, numbers of divisions, numbers of drivers. Look at this race. We've got 23 people in the final race. That's not amazing, but it's almost double what I've seen in some other leagues. This looks incredible racing in the last 7 minutes, 7.5. Andrew Berg trying to go down the inside, ends up losing some time because he had to slow down, and now he's bumper to bumper, wheel to wheel, and there's the sort of expected punt. Teammates hit each other in the back. Oh man, this is what you come here and watch for, guys. Look at that drag race down the end of that. Who's going to take it into this turn? Tons of respect. They almost touch again, almost wheel to wheel again. The switchback outside to inside, they're still that close. Ducking back underneath, see if you got to do it again. You got to, you know, just have patience. Those two Aston Martins, the teammates of Damiani and Dunham, they know they may have this done. They just need to be patient. 6.5 minutes isn't much time, but it's enough time. They'll get it done.
Yeah, and they're one of our leading teams too. So let me take a look at where they are.
So, what do you think? You think Damiani should report Dunham for that collision and get his teammate a couple second
I've
penalty?
taken out my teammate before. I wasn't happy about it. It was it was completely my fault. That's just not, all of that's really bad.
That was not going to work. You saw him try to do a switchback, try to, you know, cut back underneath him, brake late, and he just did not pull it off. That is a difficult maneuver to pull off in the best of times. But, man, you hate to see that with such little time left.
Hopefully I went back. I don't know if I hit the right one.
Yeah, look, he
Yeah,
tries
here
to
it
cut
is,
in
right
right
here.
now, and goodbye.
Yeah, no, I mean, Damiani and Dunham were in second place. They're kind of, they're 26 points behind first. But more importantly, they're only 17 behind third. So them not placing well, Diaz and Stefio can definitely potentially take over second place in the team championship, maybe even fight for first in that team championship. So that was
Well, in
definitely
both of those
not.
little collisions, you know, after the fact, Berg can, you know, report them. They might lose another couple places just based on those. That is really unfortunate for their overall championship placement. They could lose another multiple places at the end of this race after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, and Manperson and Sacoma are currently in first in the team championship. And absent drop races, you know, they're 8 and 14 right now. So they're not horrifically placed. And it is a season-long battle, so we'll see where they wind up.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think it's pretty safe to say that unfortunately, Secom could not pull off some miracle and go from 15th or 16th or whatever up to P1 and then take Diaz out of the championship. However, he has gone up to 8th. He's in the top 10. It certainly looks like he's going to hold off Damiani and Dunham for his placement in the on the podium there. So I think we're looking probably at a Victor Diaz win overall, Jared Seckham P2, silver overall, and I don't know, Damiani might lose P3 out to Dunham.
Yeah, Damiani's 30 points ahead of Dunham right now. So.
And he's 7 places back on him. That is, I don't know the math on that, but that seems close.
Yeah, agreed.
And remember, Damiani, you know, just involved in these 2 collisions recently, he may end up bumping back another place or 2. So, you know, those are teammates, but it certainly looks like one teammate may jump the other in the end of this.
Yeah, and this is key right now on Platt. I feel like I've seen this Aqua McLaren all race today. Just sitting there in 6th place, just maintaining.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, let's see, where the leader? The leader is, okay, so he's got 1 more lap after this, I believe. I think so this is second to last lap, and certainly Key's close. He's definitely getting close in these braking zones, but you just got to hope that Platt makes a mistake, because remember, Key's in the Porsche right now. His tires are not going to be perfect at the end of this race. They're not going to be good. Hopefully he's pushed his brake bias forward, but he definitely looks to be putting pressure right now. That is a nice slipstream coming down this straight. Will he do something on the inside? No, he's staying respectful. That's good. It wasn't on. He's still got enough time to keep pushing this. And honestly, as long as you keep pushing really close to the car in front of you, you can make them make a mistake. And that's hopefully what he's going to, you know, try to see here, rather than taking some gap that's not there.
Yeah, that's what I always kind of hope for. If I can continue to push, will they make a mistake? And it'll be a clean, well, as these guys bump each other, it'll be a clean overtake, because it's not because I did anything wrong, but because I was driving so hard that the person in front of me just lost their confidence.
Well, you know how I know that the guy in front usually makes a mistake is because when I'm in front, I make mistakes.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you can.
Exactly. Let's see what's going on a little bit farther back. Again, our favorite train here, 12th through 17th. We've got Kish, Anastasi, Manperson, Anderson, Chan, and Queso. It looks like Chan just got potentially flipped around.
Oh.
Right there.
Yeah, and I mean, looking back at where we're looking at,
We know he's now
Manperson
close.
certainly seems to be more confident on his brakes than Anastasi in front of him. He's really coming close there. We are in the last lap, as we saw, so the leaders come around. Everybody here has not passed the start-finish line for their last lap yet, so they still have 1 to go. So there is still enough time here for a couple more places changed. But yeah, Manperson is making making moves. He's looking to get in front of Anastasia here. I doubt he'll get Bailey, though.
Yeah, that's almost a second on one lap, plus getting past the driver.
Yeah, I mean, we got to hand it to Stefiuk staying. I mean, he's 5 seconds back from the leader, but nobody else is even close. So, I mean, sometimes in each group, in each division, you've got one, ringer that is going out there. We're talking like, Mike Moaning in D1. Kick him out. Everyone else, see how close they are. But yeah, it looks like Stefiuk's actually staying up there too. So great job. This is wheel to wheel going down at the end of the straight. Too wide around the turn. Is a man person going to try to stick his nose in? I think man person just waiting for one of them to make a mistake. Maybe overtake both of them at the same time.
Oh.
This is...
Diaz just went around the final turn and is looking to... Diaz
that is some argy-bargy that slows down Anastasia there, causing man person to hit him also, bringing Bailey back, or bringing Berg? Or, yeah, it looks like Berg's back there.
Whoever it was
this is...
totally lost all traction right there.
Wheel to wheel to wheel. Yes, Victor Diaz is the champion overall, chat. It looks like Allen has just passed the finish. Platt will stay ahead of Key, I believe. 0.126 seconds, Platt on Key. That was a drag race to the finish. This mid-pack group has been wheel to wheel, bumper to bumper. Great fighting, good respect as we come around to the start-finish line here. Good job, everyone. Nobody hit each other hard enough to spin them out in a bunch of places. We had a couple issues, but look at those. Drifts, donuts, everyone having fun. Final race.
There's
McLaren,
our winning
P1
driver,
through 3.
Mr. Diaz, sitting comfortably in his McLaren, hopefully getting a beverage as the race ends here in Silverstone.
Yeah, so I think how many people are going to blame this on McLaren's BOP?
Everyone?
I mean, look at that. Martin, the closest up there in the Porsche. Great driving from him, especially since he was P1 in the season hot lap at this track. So obviously he was able to keep going. Good job.
Yeah, like, you had the Lamborghinis a few seasons ago before they got neutered. Definitely we'll see what happens next year or next season. Especially
so what was the fastest lap of that race?
If I switch to the McLaren, it'll definitely get neutered. So don't choose the car I choose. FYI.
Please, can you choose any car but the Porsche?
Yeah, next year I will not. If I'm not in a Porsche, I'll help you out. But I just want to, before the end of this broadcast, and maybe we can see if we can drag someone in, if we could figure out how to do that. A huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, as well as support from Documise, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documise.com to learn more today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. And a big thank you to our affiliates, Track Racer. Experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. Use code SRATE at checkout to support us. Armamentario, a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC. AT3D Sim Shop. Upgrade your sim racing experience with premium 3D printed accessories featuring precision crafted magnetic shifters, sleek cable management solutions, versatile stream deck mounts, and immersive dashboard displays. Their innovative designs enhance performance and style. Elevate every lap with top-tier quality and craftsmanship at at3d.net. And go to Go Setups, premium esports setups for everyone. Use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. Thank you to our sponsors for making this all happen this year. Let me see if I can steal maybe one of our winners.
Yeah, and if you're watching the stream and you're listening to us, you may be like me. It sort of tunes out a lot of these ads until you realize that no, not everyone here who's good is running all these different apps and these paid-for things. In fact, many of them are not. However, having the right setup, having a good, stable base to mount your pedals and your steering wheel to, looking into what other people do and following their racing is very important. You can gain tenths and even seconds on tracks just by, getting the right tutelage, the right help from these things. So pay attention to some of it. At the very least, look it up. And, all these people we talk about, all these sponsors we talk about, they're there to help. We wouldn't talk about them. We wouldn't have them as sponsors if we didn't believe in it.
Yeah, I think that that's important to do your research and to get the right setups for you to just enjoy, as we've been talking about, and have fun. So just maintaining good maintenance on your different mechanical devices, as well as your software on your computer, are hugely important to be able to just log on, bang out some laps, and not fight with hardware or software.
Yeah, it sure looks like Diaz made